Hello bass players and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking into 10 bass lines that are not only amazing bass lines, they also teach us scales. And what does that mean? Well, it basically means that once we learn the bass line, we're going to be looking at the shape that we're creating, we're going to be looking at the notes that we are playing, and we're going to see that, well, this specific bass line is based on the minor scale, or this one is based on the Lydian scale, or this one is based on the minor pentatonic or the blues scale. So basically this is a list of what I think are 10 great songs that everybody should learn. And by learning those bass lines, you're going to better understand what does it mean to play certain scales. So let's just jump right in and let's see what I mean. Let's go to the very first one. So that bass line was from Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry, and I won't be playing the actual songs in this video. If you want to check that out, which I definitely recommend you do, just go to the description and you can see the link for each song. But the point here is what is happening, like what is going on. And the first thing I want to mention is look at the shape being played here, right? We have this little box shape that many people, especially guitar players, learn as the cage system, but it's really a square that is taking us to this note, which is the E, okay? This scale is basically an iteration, is a shape of the E minor pentatonic scale. The E minor pentatonic is E, G, A, B, D. And then we can put the E again on the octave. But remember those notes. So this shape here, what is cool about it, and this is a shape you can use in a lot of songs that have like a minor chord. And you can use this in pretty much any key. You just have to understand how to place the shape. The idea is that the root of the chord is going to be on your pinky or your ring finger here. Let's just say I'm using the pinky. That's the E. And then you're going to have the A, B, D, E available here, which themselves are the fourth, the perfect 4, perfect 5, the minor 7, and the root again. And then you can actually keep going. They don't go in the song, but you can actually keep going to this note here, which is the minor third, is the G. And you can also get this note right here, which is the A again. And there you go, you have the whole E minor pentatonic, but you have the A as the low note here, which we really just call like a shape of the scale of the minor pentatonic. In the song, they are using the open E string to play the low root. And then they do the phrase. A ghost note, and then that's the phrase. This sounds really good when you're doing hammer-ons or even pull-offs. So definitely try to get like an E minor play along and just practice this shape a little bit. You can see you can create a bunch of bass lines. As long as you know your root is here, you can kind of go crazy with it. Just mess around with the shape. Okay, that was the E minor pentatonic. Let's check the second song now. All right, this second one was the bass line for Good Times from Chick. Again, check the original recording. This one is really a timeless bass line, amazing. And a lot of people don't know, but that very first phrase, it's literally the E Dorian scale from root to root. It just plays. It takes us all the way back to the root. If we look at the notes, we have the root, which is the E, the major 2, which is the F sharp, the minor 3, which is the G, the perfect 4, which is the A, perfect 5, which is the B, major 6, which is the C sharp. Very important note. This note right here is what makes this scale a Dorian scale and not a natural minor scale, which will have the C natural. And then we're going to have the minor 7, which is the D, and back to the root. So they are just climbing the E Dorian scale, which is a great scale for minor chords also. I know we could use the minor pentatonic. People, like the last song we just saw was the minor pentatonic. But the Dorian, many times, is a great scale for minor chords, especially minor chords that are not the key of the song. So this is something that goes further into music theory, and maybe we don't go too deep into it right now. But the idea is that oftentimes, if you have a minor or minor 7 chord in a song, and that chord is not the one, is not the key of the song, Dorian is going to be the scale you want to use on that. So let's say we are in the key of G minor, and then we have an E minor chord right there, Dorian scale on that chord. C sharp minor on the G minor key, Dorian chord. Dorian scale, I mean. So make sure to really learn this scale. It's a very useful scale, especially if you go more into jazz and other genres, but that's the Dorian scale, okay? And that's just the first half of the line. They do bring us immediately into the A, which is technically when the chord changes, but that part, it doesn't really matter for us. We're not really looking into that. I just wanted to show you guys the first half, which is a perfect example of how the Dorian scale works. So now you know. Try to transpose that to other keys. Let's say G Dorian. I know we're doing with the open string right there, so it makes it a little bit more complicated, but just think about the distance from the notes, Just look how the notes look like, okay? That was the E Dorian. Let's check now the third bass line. The third bass line that we just heard comes from the song Sunshine of Your Love from the band Cream. And it is it's honestly one of the best examples I found out there of the blues scale. Okay, it's the blues scale going backwards. And let's first understand what is the blues scale. So we are in D, okay, D blues scale. That's going to give us the D itself, the minor third, which is the F, the perfect 4, which is the G, the blue note, which is augmented 4, basically, is the G sharp. Okay, that's also known as the blue note when you are in the blues scale. The A, which is the perfect 5. And then we're gonna have the C, which is the minor 7, and the last note, because this is the D again, is the root. So all that they're doing is they're playing. They're just playing the scale going backwards, but with a little variation, right? And yeah, this is a cool one to remember because the rhythm is so famous. This song is really, really famous. I think a lot of people kind of just know it naturally. They heard this somewhere. If you haven't, definitely, again, listen to it. But if you remember this song, the bass line, you can, again, use this shape in other songs. So if you have a play along and you just put like a D blues, you can use those phrases or just the shape itself to play, That's kind of the point of learning this. You just try to understand the song first, get very good at playing, the song, and then use that beautiful line, which sounds great, on your own performance, on your own bass line. If you want to create one, or if you want to improvise one, or if you want to just jam, that's the point of learning these things here, to just give you the tools to create your own bass lines and to also understand how to navigate bass lines. The more bass lines that we learn and the more that we analyze them, the better we get at learning. So we can learn things very, very fast. Anyway, that was number 3. That was the blues scale. And now we're going to move to number 4. That was the bass line for the song Aeroplane by Red Hot Chili Peppers. And this one is based on the G natural minor scale, okay? The G natural minor is the G, which is the root, the A, which is the major 2, the B flat, which is the minor 3, C, which is the perfect 4, D, which is the perfect 5, then we have an E flat, which is the minor 6, And then we finally have the F, which is the minor 7, and then the root again. Now, it's important to understand in this song specifically, since the scale technically has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes, that doesn't really make the perfect cycle of like 8 notes, so you can do 2 measures in a row. So what they basically do is that they add 1 note in the middle of the scale just to make it exactly 8 notes before they reach the root again. So when they go up, they add this note, which technically is the major third of the scale, but let's not think like that. Let's think about it as an approach note connecting the minor third, which is here, but also here, right? Same note. The minor third connecting to the perfect 4. So think of it as an approach note, and that way you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then you see you can bring it back to the root on the 1, which is what you want in this situation. And that's why they add that note twice. So over here, over here, and now we are on the octave all the way up here. So to come back, what they do is they also add another note, but they do in a different place. They play the root 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then the approach note, which is the minor 2, to the root. So now we have 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then they repeat that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, approach, and then the root again. So just keep in mind, we have that B natural being added when we go up, and we have that A flat or G sharp, let's call it A flat, being added when we're going down. But besides that, it's a great example of just the scale going up and down. That's the G natural minor scale. Let's go now to the 5th bass line. That one might be the most challenging one on the list. That was Immigrant song by Led Zeppelin. And this one, as you heard, it goes quite fast. So don't worry about playing it fast. We can play it slowly. But this one basically shows us 3 different Mixolydian scales, okay? And by the way, before you say Mixolydian scale or Mixolydian mode, I thought it was called mode, not scale. It can be both depending on what we're talking about. So in this case, I just want to show you the combination of notes that makes that sound. So I'm going to call it a scale because it's just a combination of notes. When we call something mode, like the Lydian mode, the Ionian mode, the Mixolydian mode, we kind of refer more to the big scheme of things where those notes also create harmony and they can create chords, music based on those chords. That's kind of what I see more as a mode, right? It's a color, it's like really a palette of shapes of notes and chords. While a scale is just really one note to the next, to the next, to the next. That's all I want to show you. So anyway, that's the Mixolydian scale, okay? The Mixolydian scale, the first one that we see is the A, and that's going to be A, which is the root, B, which is the major 2, C sharp, which is the major 3, a D, which is the perfect 4, E is the perfect 5, F sharp is the major 6, and then we have the G, which is the minor 7. Very important to play this minor 7, because if you play the major 7, you're just playing a major scale. This is an A major scale. This is an A Mixolydian scale. Very different sound, and this scale is basically repeated on the B and on the C. So they play A, again, B Mixolydian, and then C Mixolydian, and the last time they do this approach note here to close it right on the downbeat, ta 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 ta. And that gives us A Mixolydian, B Mixolydian, and C Mixolydian, okay? So now let's check out the next bass line. This one is quite simple. This one is from the song I Shot the Sheriff by Bob Marley. And this one is another example of the minor pentatonic. I wanted to show two examples because this one is very, very simple, and it's also another shape to visualize from the minor pentatonic, which I believe is a very important scale to understand, especially when you're a beginner, because there's a lot of songs in pop and rock and like modern, just mainstream music that are just really using the minor pentatonic scale. And if you understand that, you can really learn those bass lines and just create bass lines very easily. So make sure to understand that we have in here the G minor pentatonic going backwards. Let's see how it looks going up first. So G is the root, B flat is the minor third, then we have C as the perfect 4, and then D as the perfect 5, and then F as the minor 7. And again we have the root here, the octave. So they just go backwards. A little bit of back and forth on the scale, but it's really just the scale going down. And great shape here to learn in case you haven't learned yet. It's really one of those basic beginner shapes that everybody should know. In this case, it's the G minor pentatonic, but you can bring it anywhere on the neck. That became B minor pentatonic, B flat minor, D flat minor. So anywhere you apply that shape, you made a minor pentatonic. Let's check out number 7. This one is really, really, really popular among bass players, and if you have not heard yet, it is I Want You Back by Jackson 5. Super, super important and like kind of a milestone in bass lines. Every bass player eventually learned this bass line. So if you haven't yet, listen to the recording and try to learn the whole thing. But for now, what we're gonna understand from this moment here in this bass line is that they're using the A flat major scale, is the major scale, backwards. So let's see how the A flat major scale looks like. It's going to be A flat, root, B flat major 2, C is the major 3, and then D flat is the perfect 4, E flat's perfect 5, F is the major 6, G is the major 7, and then we have the A flat again as the octave. So when they play, they don't play exactly just going backwards. They play with some nuance, so let's just see what's going on. We have the root, 7, 6, 5, and then they have a little phrase here, 3, 5, 3, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 5. And one thing I want to highlight at the very end of the bass line, they do this also. And they would repeat it again, but basically, this phrase here is a great, great phrase to learn. 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, sorry, 5, 6, 1, 6, 1, 1, 7. So that little pickup, 1, great bass line, I mean, great little feel to learn whenever you're playing a major key. So if I'm, for example, playing something like an A flat chord, it's just a nice little filler to keep your bass line moving. So remember 5, 6 when you are in a major chord, in a major scale. It sounds really nice. Let's check out the next bass line. That was Freewill by Rush. And this one's a little bit more obscure one. I don't think a lot of people know about this bass line, but I thought it was a very cool way to demonstrate the Lydian scale. Lydian scale, which is the 4th mode of the major scale, and in F Lydian will be something like this: F, which is the root, G, which is the major 2, A, which is the major 3, B is the augmented 4, that's the note that makes this the Lydian scale, the augmented 4, C is the perfect 5, D is the major 6, E is the major 7, and then we have the root again. So what they're doing is 1, 5, 4, the augmented 4, and then 3, 2, 1, 5, 7, 6, 4, 5, and that is the 2 again, it's the 9, right? It's the G, same as this note. 1 1 5 5 4 3 2 1 1 5 7 6 4 5 2. And also, just one more extra detail about this song is that this song has a very interesting metering. It doesn't really go like in 4. This one, if you count, is a 6 plus a 7. 1 2 3 4. 1 1. Bam, ba, da, 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 boom, do, 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 bo, do, do. 1 2 3 4 5 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1. And so it's a very, very cool extra thing to learn when you're playing this. You're playing in an odd meter, which is something that we don't see a lot in pop and rock music. So I just thought it was a cool thing to mention. With that in mind, let's keep going. We have 2 more to go, and then you're going to have 10 great lines to practice and to learn your scales. That was The Man Who Sold the World, originally released by Dave Bowie, but it was also, there's another very famous version by Nirvana with Kurt Cobain on the acoustic Unplugged MTV show that they played this song. And they both kind of do the same bass line, but I thought it was very clear on the Nirvana version. Like you can hear that the bass is playing that super clearly. And it is very cool because this is mixing 2 scales, and we've seen this before, so I just wanted to show another version of that, which is the Mixolydian and the major scale. We have both in this case, okay? And this is also a cool example of how the Mixolydian and the major scale are related, because the Mixolydian is the 5th mode of the major scale, the 1. So it's used on the 5 chord, which is the dominant chord we call in music. It's the chord that creates dissonance, so it brings us back to the 1, which is like home, the tonic, right? So we have the dominant and the tonic. And that's exactly what's happening here. We play the B Mixolydian scale, which is the 5 chord, and that takes us back to the E major scale, which is the 1 chord. So I just want to point also how these scales, they work together, and many times you can see in songs how they actually behave this way. We have the Mixolydian, which is the 5, taking us to the 1, which is the major scale. And just to be clear, B Mixolydian is B is the 1, C sharp is the 2, D sharp is the major 3, and then E is the perfect 4, F sharp is the perfect 5, G sharp is the major 6, and then A is the minor 7. And then we have the E major scale, which is E on the 1, F sharp on major 2, G sharp on major 3, A on perfect 4, B is the perfect 5, C sharp is the major 6, and then we have D sharp as the major 7, and then the root again. So that's kind of this song, just Mixolydian and major scale. And now we're going to do the very last one, and let's see what happens. This one is a very, very simple and quick one, but I just wanted to show some kind of example of the major pentatonic being used. So we are playing the bass line from Isn't She Lovely by Stevie Wonder. And this moment right here, they are playing the E major pentatonic, but they are starting from the 5th, which gives us a different shape. But let's look at the E major shape first, which is this. Is the root. And follow my fingers for this. F sharp is the major 2, G sharp is the major 3, and then we have the B as the perfect 5, and then we have C sharp as the major 6, and back to the root. So just to be clear, a major pentatonic is nothing more than a major scale. We just saw the E major scale. But a major pentatonic is nothing more than a major scale without the 4 and the major 7. We take these 2 notes away and we get this. So if you understand that, you can play those notes anywhere. And what they're doing in the song is that they're going to get the B here, over here, on the lower octave. And then they're going to get the C sharp over here on this lower octave. And then they just play from there. So that's all they're doing. They're just doing the major shape, but starting from the 5th, which by itself is also another shape of the scale. You can kind of remember this shape. But you can also just remember the major pentatonic itself as the intervals and the notes that they are, and understand that those notes can be expanded, right? We can play and anywhere here, those notes are all part of the major pentatonic of E. And with that, we got our 10 bass lines and all those scales that come with them that you now can use to create your own bass lines. You can use this to play with a play-along, to play with friends, to play with your band, to compose a bass line, to compose a song, to learn other bass lines easier because now you have seen a pattern and you can re-identify this pattern again, because these things, they are, infinitely used and used. Like music is all about reusing and repeating the ideas that we understand that work, right? So a major scale is going to be present all over music, the minor pentatonic, all those Dorian modes, the Lydian, everything. So understand that learning this concept while also learning the song as just learning a bass line, because of course we should learn bass lines, but learning these concepts allow you to just become a better player in general, because you are not only copy and pasting a bass line without understanding what's happening. You understand what that bass line means. That's what really learning music means. That's why so many people, they feel they get stuck at one point. There's a limit that you can grow by just learning lines and not understanding what they are. If you just copy and paste tabs for years, you're gonna grow, but there's a limit that you're gonna reach. To surpass that limit, you have to understand what that bass line is, what that song is doing. And we start to understand by understanding the intervals, the notes, and what they create. That's a major scale, that's a Dorian, that's a Mixolydian. Understand those concepts. That will take you to the next level. So I hope this was helpful. Make sure to check the links on the description. If you want to have all of these tabs and all of the stuff that we just talked about today as a PDF, as an XML file, as a guitar profile, all of that is available on my Patreon. So check it out. We are doing an end of the year discount right now in December. So make sure to click on the link in the description and make sure to subscribe. Thank you guys, and see you next video.